welcome to Tocca Talks, the amazing, beautiful soprano Harriet Jones.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. I'm very excited to talk to you.
Yes, and I mean a fellow Christine.
Yes.
Yes. Was that your dream role?
Yes and no. It's
Hmm.
a strange one. I went to see Phantom. In fact, my parents took me there when I was 16. I was going through a bit of a grumpy teenager phase. And they were thinking, oh my God, what can we do to get her out of this? And they took me up to London and to the theatre and we saw Phantom and I was blown away, but I never dreamt that that would be something in my future at that point. I just didn't even
Hmm.
think. Um, and then I went and studied opera. So then I thought, oh, I'm going to go into the opera side. And again, musical theatre wasn't really on my horizon.
Hmm.
And but then somehow I got there in the end. But it wasn't something I'd set my heart on from a young age. No.
No, okay. Because I read that you started singing really early on.
Yes, yeah, I did. I did. I did all the sort of local music competitions when I was a kid and the dancing and I did all of those and started singing and then I went to a really musical school which was based around a church actually. So we did a lot of the church singing, the choir, and that was great for learning all sorts of skills. And then I decided after I had gone actually to university to study something totally different, I decided I missed music. And I went back to London and I auditioned for a music college. And yeah, kind of the rest is history, really. It all snowballed from there.
Yeah.
Um,
So how
yeah.
how come you decided to, because your education was a classical one at the Royal College of Music, or yes,
Yeah.
yeah. So
Yes.
how come you decided to do classical singing?
I think it was probably because that's what I had been taught when I was younger. When I had singing lessons, they were all in a sort of classical way. I was singing sort of, yeah, mainly classical pieces of music, and then with the choral music as well, it all leads you sort of more in that direction. And then the voice was a lot more classical, and then I got into this sort of opera school to learn how to do the opera. And that was kind of, yeah, that was the way I was heading. Um, so musical theatre is something that's definitely come after that more classical training.
Mm.
Um, but I love the musicals as well. I mean, I'm thinking of an old video now that my parents made of me singing um, There is a Castle on a Cloud, this sort of little
Oh.
squeaky, tiny 6-year-old or something. So I mean, I always loved the musicals. I just never thought that that's where I would end up.
So how did you actually end up? Was Phantom of the Opera your first musical?
I think I saw Cats first.
Okay.
Um, oh, do you mean, oh, sorry, you're talking about the one I was in myself?
Yeah. What
Yeah,
was that your first musical that you
yes,
auditioned for? And
yes,
how come you auditioned for it?
yeah. It was a family friend who used to play. I think she was Madame Giry first cover,
Hmm.
and they were doing a really big cast change around, and we met. I can't remember where. Was it a Christmas holiday or something? And she was a friend through the family, and she said, "Oh, you should just send me your CV, and I'm going to give it to the musical director because I can just see you playing Christine." And I was thinking, "Oh, I don't know. Okay." So I sent it to her, and then I got a first audition,
Hmm.
and I almost didn't want to go. I remember I had to skip from one of my opera scenes I was doing at college. I had to sort of sneak out and take the bus along to Her Majesty's Theatre. And I went and did my first audition. And then the whole way I was thinking, this is a waste of time. They're not going to, what do I even take to musical theatre audition? I have no repertoire, I have nothing. Um, and to this day, that first audition is still the most positive, best audition I've ever had.
Wow.
Uh, really, they were just lovely, and their feedback was so lovely, and I left smiling, which doesn't always happen with auditions.
What did you sing?
I sang, I think it was a classical song, Delius. Oh, what was it called now? God, my memory is terrible. Baby Brain. I remember one of the songs was from Jonathan Dove's The Enchanted Pig, which is sort of almost musical opera kind of crossover, quite character kind of aria. And then I sang another song, which I can't remember what it's called. Twilight Fantasies, that's what it's called. And it's about a princess being locked in a tower. So it's a sort of story throughout the song like that. So they were both very classical pieces, and I'm lucky that the accompanist was so good, because it wasn't, the usual musical theatre repertoire that most people probably would have taken. But it went really well, and then 7 auditions later, I was told that I was going to be in the show. So yeah, they did make me work hard to get there, but in the end I got there.
Yeah, it's exciting though. I've done auditions at Her Majesty's as well. It never worked out for me, unfortunately, in London. Which I think mainly had to do with my size. Not that I'm huge, but I'm probably a little taller than most Christines.
Right. Yeah.
And usually the Phantoms and the Rowells at the West End have been rather small.
Yes.
So it's never matched up. But I've had some really lovely auditions there as well. It's just, I felt like we've been, like a couple of people left in the end, and I've always sort of not been chosen.
No, I mean, and it's would probably be nothing to do with you as such. No, it's just that you're the wrong height, or something about you standing next to the Rowell they have. It's exactly that. You have no control at that point over what they're looking for.
Right. And I think that's a very important lesson, and it's an important point, especially for the younger performers coming out to start auditioning, that you can have the best audition and be the best singer. I'm not saying I was, but you could be, but there's something else that doesn't match up for that puzzle at that particular moment. So for me,
yeah, you're so right.
It happened in Copenhagen, Denmark, because both the Phantom, I think he was about 196, and Raoul was really tall. So then I looked tiny, and then I finally got the part. So
how lovely.
Yeah,
that's great. And you're totally right. I had a conversation once with quite a big, well-known casting director in London, and I asked him, I just said, you've been in so many of my auditions. What is it? What do I need to think of? What is the key to this? What are you looking for? What should I try to bring? And he said to me, you should bring what you do best, regardless really of what they're looking for, because especially in London, there are so many people going for the same job. And when it comes down to it, there are quite a few people who have the same set of skills, and then it could be to do with your hair color or how big your eyes are, or so you really hit the nail on the head there. And that's exactly what he said. You need to bring in your own individual selling point that you have, and that maybe sways them to think, oh yeah, let's take her for the role.
And I also think when it comes to these long-running shows like Phantom or Les Mis, or there are sometimes it's sometimes as easy as you have to fit into the costumes that are already there, because they can't like a whole new set of costumes because it's super expensive. So sometimes it's just like, oh well, she's not going to fit into our costume, so
exactly. Exactly. It can be that, or it can be down to age, unfortunately. I mean, when I was just starting out at Phantom, I think I was 26. And one of the Cameron Mackintosh people who looked after the show said, is there anything else, we have in mind for you? And I was thinking, Cosette Les Mis, surely. And he was like, oh, you're a bit old for Cosette and Les Mis. And I was like, oh, really? And then it's suddenly at that age, I was already thinking, wow, I'm already past that one. So what's left? So and that is different in different countries as well, I think, with, seeing past what age, because from the stage, you can't see that person is in their mid 30s, or that person is 40, or that person is 20. You can't really see the difference because the
No, I
audience.
think it comes down to also a certain look,
Yeah.
like I feel like, I mean, although I'm obviously older than you, we still have sort of this, big eyes, sort of, almost like rounder features, like I would say, like a very typical Christine look, if you know
Yeah,
what I mean. So
exactly.
sometimes that's more important, I think, especially on a big stage, that you have sort of the right features for a role, because when you're that far away from the audience, or have hair, wigs, makeup, costumes on, you will still appear younger or older depending on.
Exactly. They're so clever with what they can create with the different lighting and the whole package.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
it's quite a big difference, say, with TV or film or something like that. But on stage, I mean, I have some projects coming up where I mean, when this pandemic is over, eventually, where, normally I would probably have to be, or that character is perceived as younger than what I am, but on a big stage, it's not going to matter. So,
No, exactly. I'm definitely still sort of going for the teenage, maybe teenage young mom. I remember when Disney was looking for the queen in the Beauty and the Beast film, and I got the breakthrough, sent over, and it said, mother of the prince or whatever,
right.
and I thought, oh my god, it's happening. I'm in the mom category now. And this was in 2017. So I thought, oh, it's happening already. I'm in the mom category, the Disney mom. Um, so I
Oh,
think it also depends on, yeah, which company it is. And
yeah.
uh, I mean, there's not much one can do about one's age, unfortunately.
No, and I actually feel like the parts that I'm up for now are more interesting anyway.
Hmm.
It took
Yeah.
quite a while, because I've said this before. I felt a little out of place when I was in my 20s, because my voice was one thing, but what they saw was something a little bit different. So, for example, getting Christine in Phantom of the Opera, I was really lucky, because it was really just because the Phantom and Raoul was so big. And so, that it made me look small. But I was never really right for all those sort of petite ingenue
Mm.
parts, although maybe my voice was right for it. I mean, I was
Mm.
up for Cosette in London so
Mm.
many times, and but it never worked out. And
No.
so I kind of feel like I'm finally sort of stepping into more leading lady rather than
Mm.
ingenue, and which works really well for me. So, and that's what people told me. But when you're young, you
Mm.
want things to happen now, and
Yes, exactly.
it's not like, because I spoke to a casting director on Broadway, sort of the
Mm.
same way you described your conversation in London.
Mm.
And he said, you're gonna mature into leading lady, and that's when it's gonna start happening for you. And I was maybe, yeah, in my late 20s, and he's like, well, it's gonna be at least 10 years. And I was like, what? 10
Yeah.
years, like I'm gonna be
Yeah.
dead. So
Yeah.
anyways, he was right though. So
Yeah. I think they know, don't they? That's the thing. They
yeah.
do know. Yeah.
How long were
Yes.
you in Phantom? I'm sorry, go ahead with your
No,
thought.
no, no. I was in Phantom. Well, I did 3 years in total. So I joined the show in 2013,
Mm-hmm.
and I was sort of on probation at the beginning a bit. There was actually three of us in the role at the time. There was two of us kind of playing alternate, and then there was the lead, Christine, who was actually pregnant. She was always going to leave, but they just hadn't really decided who was going to take over her place. So I was on probation a little bit at the beginning, and luckily I made it through that. And by the beginning of 2014, I had stepped into playing 6 a week. And I stayed then for another year after doing 6 a week, and then I left. And then it was a whole year. And then I got a call back a year later, really close to the beginning of rehearsals starting for the cast change, saying, we haven't managed to find an alternate. Would you be interested in coming back and playing alternate Christine? And that was one of those moments where I was thinking, is this a good career choice or not? Anton, my husband, was about to start Phantom here in Stockholm, and we decided we were going to give Sweden a chance together. So there was many little decisions, which when I think back to it now sounds so stupid, because it was a wonderful job and I was considering not taking it. I did take it. I moved back to London, and I played alternate, which was a really nice job, because you get to be on stage, play this dreamy role, but you're not exhausted all the time. You do 2 shows a week, and then obviously more when the leading Christine is not well or whatever it might be. So 3 years I was at Her Majesty's, and that was sort of, was amazing. It was some of my favorite years yet. And I still think about it. I still dream about it sometimes.
Me too.
Do you?
Do you have these stress dreams?
Yes.
Sometimes I have dreams where I'm like, I can't find my costume, and I had to get on stage and I can't remember the words, and like they're calling for me, and I'm like, ah.
Oh, I can relate to that so much. I get them. I do. And often it's somebody else's costume, and I can't keep the costume up. It's either way too big, or I can't even fit one leg in. It's so small, and I'm going to look so stupid on stage. And yes, or I can't remember the words, or
because I did it in Danish, which is not even my language. So like I will have stress dreams about not remembering lyrics.
Yes.
Like having to run up some stairs to get to the stage, and the stairs never end, and I keep running and I can't get there, things like that.
Yeah. I mean, even I don't know whether the sort of source of those dreams comes from little things that might have happened while you were during a run, because I had costume mishaps happening.
Did you ever lose your Alyssa skirt?
Yes, I did.
Really?
Yes.
Me too.
Yeah.
Tell me.
Yeah. Oh, you did?
I did. It was horrible. I had to do the whole rest of Think of Me. Like when you're ripping the rope skirt off, and they're supposed to get the big one on, and they never got it on, and they pulled it off stage. So I had to do the rest of Think of Me in my velvet underwear. And no one even thought about bringing the white robe afterwards. So I had to do like all of the, until you So until I get into the dressing room, I was like in velvet underwear.
Oh, that's so much worse than what happened for me. And I always thought that mine was the worst. Oh,
no, this is the worst.
Oh, that is pretty bad. I'm sure you styled it out beautifully, but
I'm not sure. Everyone was laughing at me in the wings, and my conductor couldn't look at me. It was terrible. It was so terrible.
People are so unhelpful when you can hear all this laughing from behind. I could hear laughing from the audience because I had friends in watching.
And
I had this.
You're like, thanks, guys.
I know this lovely friend who's a Maltese tenor, and he's got a really big voice, and I could hear him, this booming laugh coming from the audience. I didn't have to do it in my underwear, the velvet pants. Luckily, they did get the skirt on, but it wasn't quite hitched properly, so it came off during one of the moves.
Oh no!
And but I managed to stay within it and just sink down. So I was sort of squatting down, and I sang the rest of Think of Me in like a squat. My legs were burning by the end. I didn't move. I was like, yeah. But these things, they just happen so frequently, don't they?
Yeah, and Phantom being such a technical show. Like, do you
Yeah.
have any other crazy things happen during Phantom? Are we
Yes.
allowed to talk about like secrets of Phantom? Probably not, right?
Probably not, but let's do it anyway. No,
Yay!
but I'm sure, I don't know whether things are going to change now, because I'm sure that they're going to use this break as a way of updating things. But
Mm.
our boat, maybe it was the same for you in Copenhagen, was remote control driven.
Yep.
So someone in the wings who usually drives the boat had it like under their arm, and obviously pressed the go forward button. So I was in the boat just waking up, from the
Oh
sleep,
no.
and the boat was kind of speeding towards the conductor, and I was thinking, oh, do I bail out? What do I do right now? Do I stay in? Should I sort of sit in the boat, or should I jump out? Luckily, just before we hit the front of the stage, they obviously noticed and they stopped the boat. But
Oh no.
that was one thing that happened. I mean, I dropped the mask various times. I actually hit the double bass player in the orchestra pit with the mask once, when in the first Lair scene.
Oh God. Well, thankfully, when I played Phantom, there wasn't any camera, phones with cameras and
Okay.
stuff. That's how old I am. So no one could actually, like film
Yeah.
or, do any of that while I was doing Phantom. Otherwise, I'm pretty sure that the whole skirt situation would have been online. And
Yeah.
but no, there is no footage of that
No.
happening. It's just right now, I think it's just one of those like ghost stories of things going wrong in Phantom. The way Christine is written vocally, I mean, for the auditions, obviously they want to hear the high notes because that's her, like unique selling point, if you will. But most of the rest of her material sits in like a lyric soprano,
Yeah.
sort of almost middle voice. And when you come to Wishing, you have to have quite a bottom
Yeah.
register.
Exactly.
And so it's not an easy role to sing because it has
No.
such a crazy wide range.
No. Yeah. It's very true. Yeah. I
Mm.
found that when I started, I really needed to work on this sort of more chest sound, because I had never really had to use that before.
Mm.
So I took some singing lessons and trying to help bring out that side of the voice.
Mm.
Because it's a huge range. I don't know what it actually is that she sings, from an E down to I
I
don't know
don't know
whether
either.
it's a G or something, but it's quite low. But it's a wonderful piece to sing, isn't it?
Yeah.
Oh, it's just
I
the best.
I loved it. I really loved
Mhm.
it. What was your favorite scene to play? I mean,
I
obviously when you've played such a long time, it sort of changes, but do you
Yeah,
have a few or
I have
one?
a few moments that I loved. I loved when suddenly Twisted came out. That
Mm-hmm.
sort of dee, 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 dee.
Yes.
Where does that come from? Suddenly, Andrew Lloyd Webber just suddenly thought, oh, we'll put this in the
Yeah.
music here, and that was always a really nice point with the acting side as well, to sort of
Mm.
find that different. I loved that part. I also loved Past the Point of No Return,
Yes.
because again, she just suddenly this sassy kind of side that she could show. Um, and also in Think of Me, when that clever moment with the lights, when you've moved back and suddenly you've got the
Mm.
big Alyssa skirt on, and then the lights, and then you sort of come up with the scarf. And that's one of those pivotal moments that I think of sometimes in my dreams. And I can
Yeah.
remember just that feeling when you look out at the house, and
Yeah.
you just it's wonderful. It's just, when I think of missing theater, that's what I miss. I
Mm-hmm.
miss that very moment,
Yeah.
um, more than anything else. And how about you?
Okay, so my favorite moments in Phantom, I would say I agree with you on many of them. Think of Me was never one of my favorite songs. I kind of felt like I had to, that was the song that I had to get past to then sort of relax into the rest of the show. But okay, one of my favorite moments was waking up in the boat. That little part, there were candles all around, that one.
Yeah.
And I always really loved the final lair because of the drama, you know. It was so much fun to play because finally sort of, you know, Christine, I mean, I felt like she had so much power in that scene, you know. So I think those are probably my but I really like the twisted part that you talked about because it's so beautiful. Like the music is beautiful, but the whole show, and it's sort of I love the part of Masquerade when you run back to the stairs and the whole cast goes like boom, Masquerade. That's really powerful, and it was so much fun to sort of be in the whole group because usually as Christine, you're either with Phantom or Raoul, you know. So that was a really cool moment when you felt the power of the whole cast together.
That's true.
So
yeah, you don't get so many moments like that where you're all together and that big feeling of a kind of sort of team. I mean, of course, you do have that with the show as a whole. But there was some people in the cast that our paths sort of hardly ever crossed backstage, or you know, there are people that I felt like I never really saw, just because the timing wasn't, you know, we didn't never passed. But yeah, it's a lot of just you on stage, or you and the Raoul, or the three of you with the Phantom. And
yeah, there were parts in the rooftop scene that I also really loved. Not necessarily All I Ask of You, but the part before. What is she singing there? The
Don't Take Me Back.
When she's echoing Music of the Night.
Exactly.
That part is, but it's also because I'm really good at pianissimi. So I just felt like those were the moments where I could really shine.
They were the money notes.
Money notes, like that one on the rooftop, because I could, like, that's one of my specialties, people. I will do a very, you know, like very nice pianissimi, and I can hold it for ages. So that was you know, for ego reasons, that was a nice spot in the show for me. So
that's
and
great.
I think that's why I was a bit scared of Think of Me, because you have to, like, I don't mind the cadenza, it's just that you should have like a big, long, powerful high C at the end. And it's not like I can't do it, but it's, I just always felt more comfortable with the pianissimi parts for some reason.
Well, the thing is everybody's kind of waiting for that moment in a way, the cadenza, because they know it's coming. People who know the show, you know, they know it's coming, and you think, oh, and I mean, of course, I had a few shows where I wasn't happy with how it went, or you know, things didn't quite go to plan, or I lost support, or I was tired, or something. I wasn't quite feeling well. And then you have to carry that for the rest of the show. You're thinking, oh, that was really bad. And now I carry it for the rest of the show. And I think that's one of the main things you learn, isn't it, when you're in a show like this, that you have so many of these sort of starring moments that you just have to look. There are going to be some that don't go to plan. You have to look past it and just carry on. And also, it's never as bad as you think.
No.
When you do these sort of, when you crack or something and you're thinking, oh, that was so awful, and then you ask afterwards someone who's sitting in the audience, but did you hear that? You must have heard that, it was terrible. And they, you know, they don't notice, or they didn't hear it, or and that's always really comforting, because because for you, in your perfectionist brain, you're thinking about it. It's just niggling away at you. And
would you ever try to sort of make up for it later in the show? Because like if I had a bad cadenza not that it happened very often, like you said, but when it did, I would just sort of wait for, say, my long pianissimo opportunity on the rooftop and try to like hold that a little extra long and just show
Yes.
everyone like I actually can sing.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I can relate to that. But then you'd probably get the musical director coming up, or I would in London, saying, "Now you took a bit too long on that note. Let's not milk it. Let's keep the show going.
Yes.
4 beats only," kind of thing.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, the original, I don't know whether it's the same for the production you did in Copenhagen, but the original in London, there's still very much so many people looking after the show, and it still is. They really are trying to keep it just as it was back
Yeah.
in,
It
I
was
think it was 87. Yeah.
yeah, it's the same
Yeah.
everywhere. I think it was the same um, creative team that came to work with us, Kristen Blodgett,
Ah.
Arthur Masella. So it was the same people. So yeah, but you know, there were definitely shows where I would try to milk it a little longer. And yes, I would get told off, but you know,
Yes.
I've already done it then. So
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Oh, I found the other day, because I up in the attic at my parents' place, I have my old notebooks with some of my notes in that I had from those 3 years, because there was notes, every week, and I'd written them all down, and I had it's just books and books full of, and by the end of my 3 years, the sort of the amount of little character traits that I had sort of made myself for Christine, it was just so detailed. It was like peeling off the skin of an onion. It was just so many small things that had come over the time, and notes from different people. And then luckily we had the late Hal Prince come over. He was still coming when I was there and playing, so he would come over and give us some notes. He'd sit in the audience with his microphone and say,
wow.
"Sweetie, you got to do it this way," and it was just incredible, absolutely amazing. So then I have big stars by his notes that he would give. But yes, I found them when I went home for Christmas now, in December. I found these books of notes, and it's lovely to read through them.
Yeah.
So
But do you
detailed.
feel, because I did Christine for 2 years, so
Mm.
do you feel like she is still part of you? Because I do. Like, I feel like I mean, obviously, I'm too old to play her now. Um, but if someone asked me, I would very easily be able to bring her out because she's there, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, definitely. I think it's one of those things that if push came to shove and I got a call saying, "We have no one to play, can you come back tomorrow?" I would be able to do it. I mean, I
Yeah.
would find it very tough physically, I think. Um, but vocally I would be able to do it, and I think I can remember most most of it. Maybe a bit of the choreography I would need some help with, but yeah, I would be able to do it. I think it's still in there, definitely.
It's really exciting. So you also talked about the Beauty and the Beast movie. So
Yes.
was that your first film?
Yes. Yeah. So Beauty and the Beast came about, was it in 2016, when they were looking for someone to play the mom, the queen. And I went to the office and had an audition, and it was another good feeling one, like the Phantom.
Right.
So anyway, so then I got given the part, and I did my few days filming. It wasn't much. And went to the studios, and it was wonderful to be around this different type of way of working. And you get picked up in a nice black car with this beautiful interior and everything you need, and it's just like a different world. So we did the few days filming and things, and then I got a call, when they were due to release, before they were due to release the film. I got a call saying, "It's not going to work out. You look too similar to somebody else in the film. When we've played it to an audience, you look too similar to someone else in the film, and they're getting confused with the characters." And I was in Stockholm when it happened, and I remember I just burst into tears because it had been such a dream and it had been wonderful. And I just thought, oh, my agent called me and I was just crying my eyes out, thinking, oh, you know, no matter how small the part was, it was still, you're going to be in a Disney movie. And it was just such a wonderful experience, the whole thing. So then a few months later, the director, Bill Condon, he said, he called my agent and said, look, we still want to use Harriet, but she's not going to have the song anymore. But we still want to use her. But she's just going to be kind of dead in a bed. And I was thinking, I can do that. Yeah. So they dyed my hair like really dark brown. Which when I think of it, probably wasn't really necessary. I could have just worn a wig to be dead in a bed. But anyway, so we went through all that palaver of dyeing my hair brown. And then I sort of went back and refilmed these few things. So it was one of those things, it was a real shame. And I was really sad about it. And then the film came out and I went to see it and it was a wonderful film. But there I was, dead in a bed, and I'm on screen for 2 seconds, catch me, you miss me, and it's gone. But then the director really kindly sort of brought out the sort of edited scenes, or the scenes that never sort of made it into the film, and gave this little introduction saying, you know, it was my fault, I made this mistake, and Harriet looked too similar to someone else in the film. But here is her scene that she did, and it was the beginning of this lovely medley with this song. So it's there, it's on the DVD, or however.
Can you find it on YouTube?
You can find it on YouTube. Yeah, you can find it on YouTube. I think it's called Deleted Scenes, Days in the Sun, Harriet Jones, if you put it in on YouTube.
Nice.
And it's there, which is really nice. It's lovely to still have it and have it out there in the open. It's because usually with these things, you'd never get your hands on these things that you filmed if they didn't make it into the cut. So I feel like I had a bit of a sort of, I was in a Disney movie, but I was also not, in a way.
Well, you were. And at the end of the day, you can still put it on your CD. So there you go. Exactly. And you can look at it. I mean, if it's out there on YouTube, let's all go and look at it.
Yeah.
Maybe I can put the link in the description of our interview so people can find it.
That's a good idea.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Yeah. Yeah, it was a really lovely time, and you never know what might come of it, but it was just a really nice moment.
Yeah. Do you know who you were too similar looking to?
It was actually the girl playing Agatha. She's also called Harriet in real life, or Henrietta, I think.
Who was that?
So she's actually the witch at the beginning. When she's not dressed as a witch. Agatha, yeah. So she is the one who cast the spell on him.
I see.
She's also blonde and has high cheekbones. So I think.
And big eyes, probably.
That was the thing. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Well, that might have made some people confused, and I don't know. But too bad. But you have the scene, so that's exciting.
Exactly. Yeah, I have the scene, and I've used it. I can use it. So yeah, it's great.
So you are married to a Swedish boy.
Yes. Yes, Anton.
Yes. Yeah. So how did you guys meet? How did this happen? Because I know that you are, I don't know if you're currently recording or if it's already done, but you're making an album together called West End Love Story.
Exactly. Yeah.
So I'm assuming it has to do with your relationship.
Yeah. Oh, we want to we're making it in Germany, and we haven't been able to get back there. We started it, but we haven't finished it. So hopefully we can do that soon, because it's all ready to go. We just need to put the vocals down. So we met back in end of 2013. So I had just started at Phantom. And Anton had been in Les Mis since June of that year.
Right.
So we met at the end of a big long week of 8 shows, and up in a sort of one of the members bars they have on Shaftesbury Avenue. And we actually got introduced by the guy who was playing Phantom,
Mhm.
Geronimo. So I have him to thank for everything, because he had been previously in Les Mis with Anton. So yeah,
So
that
it's a
was what
Christine Enjolras love
I
story.
know.
That's so
Exactly, it
sweet.
is. I know. It was.
Oh,
It was lovely, and it was just wonderful because Anton was really luckily living very central at that point. So, um, yeah, we escalated very fast in our relationship because we were on the same timetable, and
mm.
we could see each other during the day, and yeah, he just sort of, I don't know, I'd never met anyone like him, so it was just a very quick beginning where everything just snowballed, and yeah, now we're married and have a son together 7 years later.
Yeah,
So
that's
yeah,
amazing.
but we've
So,
we've also found it's been tough as well because Anton has played so much in Germany, and his career has taken him, back to Sweden and then to Germany, where it all started for him, of course,
mhm.
with Tarzan. So and then I was in London still playing the London scene. So we've spent some of those years in a long distance relationship. Um,
Yeah. And
so
how do you like plan the future? I mean, obviously now we're all stuck because of the pandemic, but as you say, when you're two performers in one relationship and now there's also a baby, like
mm,
how do you prioritize and how do you think about that for the future?
yes, it's a really good question. If anyone has any answers, then let me know. It's not easy. Of course, if one of us had a more, I want to say, normal job. I don't mean it like that, but you know
It's a
what I mean.
civilian job. We know
Yes,
what you mean.
exactly.
Yes.
Um, um, it would make things easier and not as easy because we do travel so much, or we did before the
Mm,
pandemic. There was sort of one of us flying every few weeks.
mm,
Now, of course, with our baby Noah, we can't do that anyway. So things are going to have to change for us.
mm.
Um,
Is that one of the reasons you decided to record the album, or was that always sort of in the plans anyway?
Well, it took us a long time to actually start singing together, Anton and I. We very much had our careers separate.
Mm,
And then we went and we got asked to do our first concert together a few years ago. And I thought, it doesn't always work out when you work with your husband. Maybe you see different sides of them at work or whatever. But it was such a fun moment, and I was on such a high after we did our first concert together. I remember we were in this hotel room, and it was just amazing. It was so incredibly special to sing together.
mm,
And of course, when we were sort of getting to learn the music, that and before the concert, I didn't quite understand how special it would feel. But anyway, so we did that, and then we sort of thought, well, we should do this more. So then we did a few more concerts together, and then our repertoire kind of grew, and we found some songs that we loved singing. And then conversations started about making an album, and we found this wonderful guy who's done the arrangements
mm,
for some of our favorite sort of musical duets. And it's not big orchestral numbers.
mm.
It's more, smaller arrangements, so songs that will work with them. Um, and yeah, they're quite sweet. It's I hope it's gonna be really something that we can have for the rest of our lives and be proud of. Um, when we finally get around to finishing it, we have people asking us about it frequently, and we're a bit embarrassed because we hoped that it was going to be out a long time ago. So
Well, this
that's how it
pandemic
goes.
has caused problems for a lot of people in our business,
Yeah.
so I totally understand. But we're all eagerly awaiting this album.
Mm.
I'm, for one, super excited to hear it and hear you sing
Oh,
together. So
that's
that'll be exciting.
yeah.
Another thing that I really wanted to talk to you about is motherhood as
Mm.
a performer.
Mm.
Because, first of all, it's not easy to make a decision to at least start trying to become pregnant, because I remember when I was in that situation, I was really scared of, like, my main fear was, will I be able to get back into the business? How much will the pregnancy change my body? You know, like all these actually rather shallow things now when I think about it. I had no thought whatsoever that becoming pregnant would ever be a problem. And I would say with my daughter, my first child, it wasn't a problem. It happened really, really quickly. But with my son, he's 5 years younger than my daughter. And the reason for that is that I actually miscarried as well, twice. So I know, because you've been quite open about this on your social media, that you guys have been struggling for a while to finally arrive at Noah, which is such a blessing, and he's so sweet. But do you want to talk a bit about this? Not just maybe the struggle, because that's obviously hard, but also just your thoughts in general about deciding to even start trying and all this.
For me, having a family has always been something that I've dreamed of. And it's not something that I thought, well, maybe it would be nice. It's something that I have thought, it has to happen. It has to happen, kind of thing. And if it wasn't to happen, I would just be heartbroken. So it's never really not been an option for me that I would say put the career first, and of course of course it changes things. Pregnancy, having a baby, priorities, it changes. You can't just decide that you're both gonna work evenings and from now on. I mean, there's all this stuff that we also have to sort out now, having a baby. But no, it's not something I ever considered wasn't going to happen. And Anton was in the same. He's like-minded to me, and we both knew we wanted to have a family. So then after I had finished playing alternate Christine in 2017, we had a positive pregnancy test, and I was pregnant. And I actually knew for quite a while in London, I was still in London, that I was pregnant before I wanted to tell Anton face to face, and he'd gone back to Germany to play Tarzan again. So anyway, so I knew for a few weeks before, and I'm so excited. I'm so excited to tell him. I was sitting on a secret. And so anyway, I went out to Germany and told him, and we were so excited. And then a few weeks later, unfortunately, it didn't work out, and I started to bleed and went through my first miscarriage. And it really hit me in this crazy, I'm just plummeted into this crazy depression. And I flew back to England because there were certain complications with it as well, but that I in the end I had to have an operation to help with clearing it out. But it was just such a terrible, terrible feeling, the whole thing. And there was auditions coming up, and my agent and I didn't want to tell them, and I didn't want to seem like a drama queen being like, I'm going through this, so I can't. So I think I went to an audition, and I just was feeling really not myself. And I think I was still bleeding at the time as well. I was just not coping well. And then others came up afterwards with auditions, and I just closed everything down and decided I'm not doing this now. And then 2 years later, 3 more miscarriages later, well, in the end, we got there with our 5th pregnancy. But if I'd have known at that point at the beginning, there was going to be another 3 consecutive miscarriages, I just couldn't believe that someone could sort of go through that many in a row. Having spoken about it now, I've had people message me saying, I've had 13 or I've had 14. People go through the most crazy and keep trying. And I really respect those people so much, because
Mm.
it's a time when you have no confidence in your body. And I think that's something I'd never experienced before. I've always been able to have confidence in that my body will work. I can go out there and run, and I can go out there and play sport, and I can sing, and it always works for me. And then this one thing, it just wasn't working.
Mm.
And it was really, really tough. And I look back at the 2 years now, and it was even more tough because I also lost my dad during that time. So it was just full of grief and trauma. And I can't really remember. I did play a show during the summer. I did Guys and Dolls, and I actually miscarried just before my opening night of that for the second time. And I can't believe that I sort of went through and did it. But when I look back at those 2 years, it was in my mind constantly, and everything else was sort of on the peripheral. So for me, the job was very much secondary to this goal I had, and that was that to have a baby. You know, it was I was obsessed by this. I need to have a baby. I need to have a baby because if I can't, we need to make sure this happens. And it was tough. It was really, really tough. And it was tough on Antoine and I as well, because of course he's also going through grief.
Yeah.
But just not in the same way physically. So I'm in a way, I'm a bit ashamed of myself that I didn't speak out about it at the time. There were so many times I thought to myself, I really would like to reach out for help, because there's only so many people, of friends who you can call and have a private conversation with and say, look, this is happening to me. But I didn't really know anyone who had been through 3 or 4 consecutive miscarriages. But if I had put it out there in the open, I would have got a response back, and it probably would have helped. And I think that's why I have spoken about it a bit now, because if there are other people going through the same thing, I'm very open to the fact that they can get in touch with me. And I'm not saying that I can help in any way, because each person's experience is different. And I don't know, I'm not a doctor. I don't know really what the answer is, but I know that it's a really lonely, tough place that can just be all consuming with fertility issues. So, and I have had people reach out to me since putting it sort of a bit more out there publicly that it's happened to us. But yes, I wish I'd spoken about it when I was going through it, mainly for my sake, because I think it would have helped. And it would have helped for friends who I lost contact with, and things, because I became so insular. It would have helped them to understand why I was acting in the way I was acting. But anyway, in hindsight, that's what happened. And we're the lucky ones now. It worked out, and we have a beautiful baby boy. He's 3 months old now.
He's so cute. He's so cute. You all have to go to Harriet's Instagram or I would say Instagram, right? Because you have an open Instagram account.
I do.
I mean, we'll put all Harriet's information in the description below. So if you want to see baby Noah, you should go and have a look at him. He's the cutest baby. And I actually saw him on video before we started recording this interview, or video here on Zoom. He's so cute. And I mean, did you have an easy birth, or how was that? And did you give birth in Sweden, or?
I did. Yeah, I gave birth in Sweden.
So did you guys decide? Did you decide? Are you living in Sweden now?
Yes. Yeah, we're living in Stockholm.
Was that how did you make that decision? Was that part of your plan all along to live in Sweden, or did it have something to do with giving birth? And I'm just saying that we, as far as I know, we have much better, parental leave and stuff like that in Sweden that might have affected that decision. Or
I mean, it's something that we started talking about from when we were thinking about having children a few years ago, we actually said, oh, we should do it in Sweden, because Anton had talked me round to the, you know, the sort of golden way that this country works when it comes to being a parent. It is wonderful. It is wonderful when you compare it to other places. But when I found out I was pregnant back in February, this 2020, I was in England. And then in March, you know, with the pandemic and everyone locking down, Anton's show stopped in Germany. So he managed to get out of Germany just in time to fly into England. And we were together in England for the first half of the pregnancy. And then we moved over to Stockholm here in Sweden in sort of, I would say, about halfway through. It was a sort of jigsaw puzzle of things that all fit into place. And we were actually renting out our apartment here. And then the tenants said that they were going to leave. So the apartment became free. And we sort of knew we wanted to come back here. It was just needed to be the right time. But then we had the problem of, how do we get here? Are we going to be able to get here? And in the end, we ended up driving over because we didn't want to fly. So then we ended up here, and I think we made the right decision, to be honest. I mean, the healthcare here for the birth was incredible. It was really an amazing experience. And I had a very good experience. So I feel lucky in that way. And we managed to stay in the sort of like a baby hotel for 3 days after the birth, being sort of coached on how to be parents by these wonderful midwives afterwards. So yes, it was
Where did you give birth? Which hospital?
SÖS.
Okay. I gave birth at Danderyd. So.
Oh, you did?
But I'm assuming it's rather similar. So.
I'm not sure. I think so. I mean, we'd been watching all these sort of hypnobirthing. I don't know if you've heard of it, but it's maybe an English concept, but it's big over in England. And it's sort of, a lot about the breathing and very natural, and try to do it all without being medicated. I mean, but in the end, I had a heavily medicated.
Yeah, that all sounds great. But I was like, it's really funny that you say that, because I was like, how much can it hurt? Like, being in, I was doing a lot of riding growing up and have worked with horses. I fell off. I've had horses fall on me, like really like painful things. So I'm like, I can do this. How much pain can it be? And then, like an hour in, I'm like, I want everything you have. Like, I don't care. Bring the drugs.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well, for me, he didn't really want to come out. So it got to 42 weeks. And then I was like, right, let's do this. So I was induced. So it went from 0 to 100 miles an hour in the space of, an hour and a half. So yeah, I think I was asking for the epidural pretty soon after.
Yeah.
And no, it was incredible. And actually Anton decided he wanted to write everything down that was happening, because I sort of forgotten the day after. I had no idea what had happened. I forgot everything. I couldn't remember meeting any of the different midwives. So he sort of wrote everything down so I could read through it and remember afterwards. So that was quite a nice thing afterwards.
Yeah, and he had something to do.
Yes, exactly.
Probably also helpful, because I feel like what I hear from most men who have been part of a birth is that they feel kind of useless most of the time, because they can't really do anything, know. So he had a project.
Yeah, exactly. He had a focus.
Yeah,
but that was 3 months ago, and I can't even think where the time's gone now. I mean, it's crazy. It just flies by, doesn't it?
Yeah,
those first few weeks and months of being a mum.
Yeah, you're sort of in that mom bubble.
Exactly.
So, but that's what it should be anyway. And I suppose this is as good a time as any to be in that bubble, because you can't really do anything else anyway.
Oh, so many people have said that to me, who I've spoken to. People who are in the industry have said, oh, you've done it at the right time. It's the perfect time to have a baby. You're not missing anything or any auditions. And in one respect, it's true. It is. But then, when you have a new baby, you want to introduce him to, well, especially family, but friends, and take him and show him off to everybody. And of course, we haven't been able to do that very much because, we've been in our sort of isolation bubble. So, but yes, you're right. It is a good time. It is a good time. Yeah. And there are lots of people who are doing it now. I think the term is COVID baby, which is a strange term, really. But yeah.
Oh, so the future is basically right now being a mom and then finishing the album.
Yes, finishing the album. We need to get to back to Hamburg to do that. I think, we're having to keep one eye on what's happening in Germany, because that's always calling us, back towards there. So, the plan is to possibly go back. Anton has something that might work out, might not, that he's going to be rehearsing for. So we will end up going over there.
Have you done work in Sweden? Because I found your picture at Spira, Smålandsmusiken.
Yeah, so I was supposed to be doing a little tour in January, just gone, a night at the opera. It was going to be so nice. It was going to be with, I think, a 30-piece orchestra, and me and a tenor from Iceland who was going to come over, and we were going to sing some lovely opera duets and some lovely arias, and it was going to be all in the sort of Jönköping area.
Right.
So that got cancelled, sadly. Yeah. So hopefully it will happen later in the year. I'm really hoping, because it would be really special to work here in Sweden. It's not something I ever thought would happen as such, but it would be super. Oh, it would be amazing. I actually did an audition for an opera here just the other day and learned my first piece in Swedish.
Oh, yay. Good job.
So I've made a start. It's always scary when you sing in a language for the first time.
Yeah.
And Swedish is not something that I've ever sung in before. And when I was at college, we would sing in German and Italian and French, but Swedish has never been in my
It's a small repertoire. Language. But you have a good teacher at home, so.
I do. But it's different, of course, when you sing in different languages. The mouth works in different ways, and you have to get all these consonants out, and it's different. But it was a great exercise. It's a lot of work. It was just, I had 2 weeks notice, so it was a nice amount of time before the audition, but it's constant, like this text going over and over and over. I'm sure you know what it's like. But
yeah, did you ever work in Germany?
Apart from concert work, I haven't done a show there. No. Just when I found out that I was pregnant, I had learned, and I'd got an audition slot for Wicked, which was for Glinda, which was which is still going to open there. I don't know when it's going to open now, but I was going to go in and do that audition. So obviously that never happened in the end. But I would love to. I would really, really love to work there.
For me, thinking of the family situation, that either Germany or Sweden might be a good option as well.
Of course. And for me, I've always used the language barrier as an excuse not to go in for things, and I think that's done now. I'm through with saying this now, so I'm going to really, just because I'm British, I think I'm so terrible at languages. I can't use that one anymore. So I think I'm going to really try now to get my head around German and Swedish. I don't know which one to do first.
Well, you're in Sweden right now, so why not practice while you're here? I wish you all the best of luck. And as soon as we can, I would love to see you and baby Noah and Anton and, just hang out. I didn't even know you guys were in Sweden right now. That's so exciting.
And I know, it would be nice to meet. Of course, I had heard of you from Anton, and my other neighbor who lives downstairs, Emmy Christensen.
Emmy.
We know each other very well, so
Oh, nice.
I hope we can meet in real life very soon.
Absolutely. It's really funny that you live so close to each other. You live in the same house.
We live in the same house. Yeah,
So
we live in the same house.
Christine and Raoul, an extra, like he has two Christines in the same
I know
house.
exactly. I know.
Oh, it was really, really lovely speaking to you. Thank you so much for being part of Tocca Talks. Harriet Jones, everybody.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. It's been lovely. Nice to talk to you.